I've never seen the excitement and enthusiasm that Jeremy Corbyn brought into that campaign. The privilege of sharing platforms with him at them rallies, where you saw young people who everybody said were turned off from politics coming to see Corbyn speak. And why? Because he's not like the rest of the parliamentary party who are turning on him now. Corbyn enthused people with real politics. Why do you think people have turned against politics? Why do you think they're turning to candidates in America like Sanders? Because they've had enough of careerist politicians just lining their own pockets and looking after their own interests. Corbyn came into the race, and we met again, and immediately we unanimously supported Jeremy Corbyn, and we were so proud to be the first trade union to do so. And if there is another leadership race, we hope we're the first ones to do so again, and he will have the full support of Aslef, who have a Labour Party MP who is siding now with the Tories, because let's be clear, that's what they're doing. They're siding with the Tories. They're getting them out of the shit, and they're there and they're hampering us delivering a Labour government led by Corbyn and John McDonnell that will deliver socialism, that will take everything that used to be ours back into public ownership, take it away from the privateers. Do you know there are some of them in there thinking they're clever because they're organising a little coup in that bubble over there? Do you know what none of them could do? What all of them combined couldn't do? They couldn't deliver this. And they couldn't deliver what's happening in Manchester as we speak. They couldn't deliver what's happening in Newcastle as we speak. The only thing they can deliver is saving the establishment and saving the Tories. Now, I've travelled down from Yorkshire today to speak in. I've got to get back. But before I go back, I've got to have some Guinness because my throat's getting dry. I'm getting worked up and I'm getting passionate. But I'll tell you this, I have never, in my time in the trade union and labour movement, known a man as honest and as straight and as genuine as Jeremy Corbyn, who stops and talks to everybody, who cares about people. And as for those who would change it and have it another way, they say they want a strong leader. People are fed up of so-called strong leaders. They want somebody who's embracing, somebody like Jeremy Corbyn. And I say to them who are asking him to resign, bring this on, bring this election on. We'll win again. And when we win, you do the decent thing. You step down and let us get some decent candidates in them seats to fight that election, whether it comes in the autumn or in the summer or in 2020. Corbyn in, Tories out! Corbyn in, Tories out!
Friends, comrades, can you hear me? I've got to hold my hand up a bit higher, apparently. It's great to see you all today. I'm proud and privileged to be alongside you at this meeting tonight, and I'm delighted to have accepted the role of Shadow Justice Minister under the leadership of Jeremy Corbyn. Shouting going on out here, I'll tell you this, there's shouting going on in the Parliamentary Labour Party meeting too. So if they ever lecture you about bullying people for their political beliefs, I'll tell you, there's people in there tonight behaving like bullies too. And I think it's not right. I think they're showing a lack of respect. At the end of the day, politics is about taking sides. Politics is about standing up for the 99% against the rest. That's the truth. And I saw a news report earlier today that some Labour MPs apparently booed Dennis Skinner for shaking the hand of Jeremy Corbyn when he came into the chamber of the House of Commons today. So I'd say this to all Labour MPs touring the TV studios with hankies in their hands, crying into those hankies. I'd say this, consider this, at this crucial moment, what do you want to be remembered as? Someone like Dennis Skinner, someone like all of you, someone like trade and union, rank and file activists. These people are remembered for standing up for the 99%. These people symbolise a fight for a better world. Do you want to be remembered? Do you want to be remembered as a fighter for socialism as a fighter for our class? Or do you want to be remembered as somebody, one of some, who ended up trying to destroy all that we have built, not only in the last 9 months, but all that we've built in the years and years gone by? That's the choice. The Labour Party is at a crossroads. This isn't just about supporting Jeremy Corbyn, it's about supporting Jeremy Corbyn's ideas. It's about supporting the principle of anti-austerity. It's about supporting the principle of socialism. That's what it's about. And what's going on? People in the Parliamentary Labour Party want you to leave the Labour Party. The people who think that Tony Blair is the person we now need to emulate, they want you to leave the Labour Party. They want you to leave the Labour Party so that they can reshape the Labour Party in a Blair-inspired image. And I'll say this, however hard it gets, however much abuse they give us, don't give them the satisfaction. Stay put in the Labour Party and fight back. Martin Luther King, who unlike me wasn't from Leeds, said, at the end of the day, what you remember is not the words of your enemies, but the silence of your friends. Friends, comrades, it's time to end the silence. Friends, comrades, it's time to speak up for democracy. It's time to speak up for anti-establishment politics. Comrades, it's time to speak up for Jeremy Corbyn and for socialism. Thanks for your patience.
John McDonnell, Shadow Chancellor!
Can I say this? Let me say this. I want to say this. Make this absolutely clear to you. Jeremy Corbyn was elected only 9 months ago with the biggest mandate that any political leader has had from the rank and file of a membership of their party. The biggest. We call that democracy. What we've seen in the last few days is a small number of MPs seeking to undermine the democratic decisions of the Labour Party members and the Labour and trade union movement. Let me make it absolutely clear. Jeremy Corbyn is not resigning. If there are members of Parliament or members of the party who disagree with Jeremy and his policies upon which he was elected, it is open to them under our constitution to seek another election. But let me make it clear, if there is another leadership election, Jeremy Corbyn will be standing again and I will be supporting him. And the reason for that is that this is not about any individual. This is about democracy of the movement. Jeremy has appointed a new shadow cabinet. It will meet tomorrow for the first time, and we will continue as an administration to oppose the Tories' austerity programme they're seeking to implement on our country. Now, a number of MPs have complained that people are turning up in demonstrations to express their view. Some have described it as rabbles or mob rule or whatever. Let me make it clear. Let me make it clear, and we're all of the same mind. People have the right to peaceful protest. It will be The protests will be peaceful, but the reason the protests are taking place is because we will not allow the democracy of our movement to be subverted by a handful of MPs who refuse to accept Jeremy's mandate. In these coming weeks, we want you to stand firm in solidarity with Jeremy Corbyn for all that he represents. But let me say this to you. We're not going anywhere. We're standing solid in solidarity together to ensure we maintain the democracy of our movement and to ensure that Jeremy Corbyn remains as leader of the Labour Party. Solidarity!
Dodgy Dave has just left the Commons. The saddest thing in the last few days has been the fact that I'll not be able to call him Dodgy Dave after 3 more months. So by the time that we get to October, Dodgy Dave will have gone and Jeremy Corbyn will be back. What a wonderful tribute. Today, our leader tomorrow and our leader to fight the next election. Thank you very much. Can I just... Friends, please. Straight after we won the leadership election last year, we came to this very same spot to speak up for the rights of refugees to live in our society. And one of the horrible disfigurements of our society is racism, is intolerance, and the violence that's often associated with it. And sadly, this has increased over the last few days. Can we all agree we are going to unite together as one people, one society, and one community to oppose racism? And recognise that the grotesque exploitation of workers on zero-hours contracts in factories around Britain, called out by Dennis Skinner quite brilliantly in the House of Commons a couple of weeks ago, shows that we don't need the blame culture, we need the unite culture of working together for the social justice to which we all aspire. We have a government that is destroying council housing and public sector housing within our society, that is failing and refusing to regulate the private rented sector, that is allowing children to be brought up in insecure, overcrowded, damp, expensive accommodation. We have a government that is giving tax breaks and tax relief to the super rich within our society. We have a government that is systematically privatising at least half of our National Health Service. And if you overlaid a map of poverty in Britain, one of those heat maps, bright red where it's the poorest, and you then overlaid it with blue dots of where the biggest cuts are taking place, they would be exactly the same, because that is the priority of this government. And so when we contested the Labour leadership last year, it was fundamentally on an economic question. John McDonnell, as our Shadow Chancellor, has called this out and turned our party into an anti-austerity party. And I thank John for all the work that he's done. And I thank Diane for all the work she did at the Department of International Development. And I'm delighted that she is now the Shadow Secretary of State for Health. Because all these issues have to be linked together, fundamentally, to economic inequalities within our society. Our movement, our Labour movement, was founded on the most immense struggle. Those that laid down their lives in the 18th and 19th century. Those that were gunned down campaigning for the right to vote. Those that were gunned down trying to become trade unionists. Not just here, but all around the world. It's the spirit of hope or the spirit of despair. Which are we? We're obviously hope, not despair. So that hope recognises that those that struggle against racism, those that struggle for rights, to be lesbian, to be gay, be whatever you want to be, those who struggle to achieve those things, those who struggled to gain the right for women to vote, all of those things were gained by struggle. And I would want nothing more than our history teaching in schools to so improve that our children understand the rights they have, the rights they enjoy, came from those that laid down their lives before. But it's also about the kind of society and kind of world we want to live in. I've mentioned refugees, I've mentioned economic injustice, I've mentioned the services that we have. But we also have to think about our natural world and our environment. Either we live in the natural world and accept we have to sustain it by defending it, or we grotesquely exploit it. This is why I was so pleased when John, on the first budget statement that he did, asked for and did an environmental audit of the effect of that budget. So I want to see a government in Britain that does house people, that does protect and defend our environment, that does protect and extend our health service, but also reaches out with attitudes in society. We have a mental health crisis within our society, and Diane is very well aware of the importance of how we deal with that. So if I may say so, it's also a question of our own attitudes towards those that are going through stress or crisis, how we change that and recognise that we suffer stress through economic injustice, through inequality, through work, through debt, a whole lot of things. But we have to also think of how we behave ourselves. And so I just ask you this very carefully and very specifically. When we disagree with each other, as we sometimes do, when we disagree with other people, as we sometimes do, if we hurl abuse at each other, I hurl abuse at you, you hurl abuse at me, I hurl it back, the first 2 or 3 times it's quite funny, or can be. the fourth or fifth time, you've totally lost the audience who may have been listening to you in the first place. So we pursue the politics of justice, of equality, of human rights, of peace around the world, but we also pursue the politics of respect, of how we treat each other. And so that way we build greater unity. That way we build a unity of people. I do not want to live in a country where there are people sleeping on the streets while the mansions are kept empty. I do not want us to walk away from any international conventions on human rights and replace them with something else. Because to me, human rights are universal, not national. And so the political atmosphere we have is about challenging those orthodoxies. But it's also about challenging an economic orthodoxy that has been on the rampant march for 30 years or more. When Reaganomics took over in the United States, when Thatcher took over in Britain and destroyed the manufacturing industry and so much of the economic base of our society, the whole agenda was the redistribution of wealth away from the majority to a very small, very wealthy majority, otherwise known as rolling back of the state and rolling back of the role of the community in the provision of services. I don't want to be somebody that says to young people, sorry, you're not going to have it as good as we did because the nation can't afford it, and sorry, your children, our grandchildren, are not going to have it as good as you are because the nation can't afford it. And we then cascade inequality and poverty and debt down the generations. Or are we to say that the brilliance of technology, the brilliance of science, the brilliance of engineering can, should and must be the tool and the opportunity for the redistribution of wealth, for the opportunities of equality, and that we develop an economy that excites people and mobilises a whole generation that have been told they only have to look forward to a lifetime of debt in the future. That's why the movement we now have in Britain, the movement for social justice and the movement for equality, is so strong, why it reaches out so broadly. Because we learn from each other, because we learn from the values of each other, because we learn from the history of each other, because we learn from the tolerance of each other, for whatever grouping, ethnicity, faith we happen to be. That is where unity comes in, and that is what makes us strong. Don't let the media divide us. Don't let those people who wish us ill divide us. Stay together, strong and united for the kind of world we want to live in. Thank you very much.
You're going to hear from some great speakers this evening. And all I want to say is that this demonstration is about more than one man. It's about the millions of people up and down this country that need a genuinely progressive Labour government that will challenge the wealthy and the powerful. And it's about all of those people who have campaigned in different progressive causes and many progressive causes, and see in Jeremy Corbyn someone that has been with them all these years. So it's about more than one man. It's about the people that need a progressive Labour government, and also the people internationally that need a Labour government that will stand up for international peace and justice. Jeremy Corbyn is my fifth Labour leader. They have all had their redeeming characteristics. But Jeremy is the most principled. Jeremy is the bravest. Jeremy is the one that backed unpopular campaigns when they were unpopular. The Labour Party. The Labour Party should be glad at this moment of crisis for working people to have Jeremy Corbyn as its leader, and I just want to assure you that I will continue to support Jeremy Corbyn in private, in public, in Parliament, in the media, because
It shows that those that say that Jeremy Corbyn's politics are isolated, they are absolutely wrong. Tell me one other politician that could mobilise this number of people overnight. The truth is that Jeremy may be isolated in the corridors of this building next to us, but he's not isolated on the streets, in our workplaces and in our communities. We all know that this attempted coup has been planned for months. We all know this, but we all know that these people, they're not scared of Jeremy because he's unelectable. They're scared because the anti-racist, anti-austerity, anti-war politics that he represents could actually win. That's what they're scared of. We also need to make sure that we have a very strong campaign against any racist backlash. And you know what? That's why we need somebody like Jeremy who's not afraid to stand up for the majority. And we need somebody like Jeremy who, when he launched his leadership campaign, one of the first things he did was come and speak on the massive anti-austerity demonstration. Somebody like Jeremy who's not afraid. On the very day that he won the election, the first thing he did as Labour leader was come and speak on the refugees' welcome demonstration here in Parliament Square. And it's these movements, it's our movements which is going to give strength to Jeremy now. That's why we need to continue to build all of these important movements. We need to force the Tories into more of a crisis than they are. That's why the People's Assembly and Stand Up to Racism has called a major emergency national demonstration in just 3 weeks' time, demanding an end to austerity, demanding an end to racism, and demanding that the Tories are out now. Please join us on the 16th of July, Saturday the 16th. We're mobilising for an emergency demonstration. Be there, build the movements. Tories out, Jeremy in. Thank you.
Faduma Hassan.
Hi everyone, my name is Faduma and I'm a member of Momentum and Young Labour's National Committee. And I am one of the 59.5% who were inspired by the new kind of politics. The record number of people who have joined our party did not join to watch our MPs fighting each other. We joined for progressive change in our party and across the country. And that is what Jeremy Corbyn stands for, and we will continue to support him. The PLP are blaming Jeremy Corbyn for the EU referendum result. But it's so funny that they don't realise that this is not about him, it's much bigger than him. Ironically, it is these types of childish fights that are putting people off mainstream politics. I know it definitely put me off before Jeremy. These behaviour of these MPs trapped in their Westminster bubble is completely disconnected from our movement and what the country is thinking and our membership. Despite the relentless attack on Jeremy Corbyn, he's still a beacon of hope and optimism for young people across this country. Evidence of this is that Momentum has increased its numbers in the last 24 hours. Thousands of people are joining Momentum and building our movement. Young people in this country support Jeremy Corbyn. I support Jeremy Corbyn. I know you all here support Jeremy Corbyn, and we're here to build our movement. The coming days, we all know, will be testing times for Jeremy Corbyn, and we must make our voices loud and clear. Let's work together, stand with Jeremy as he stood with us. Thank you, comrades.
Night member, a bus driver from the northwest, it's Mulazam.
Comrades, sisters, brothers, good evening. I've travelled all the way from Oldham today to be here with you. Thank you, thank you. Why have I travelled here on a day when I'm fasting? I've not had anything to eat since 2 o'clock this morning. The reason, we have a person who is under threat for representing Great Britain and the people of Great Britain. We need to defend anybody that comes under threat. If Jeremy is being threatened by these bully boys and girls, we will be with Jeremy. As we speak, the bully boys are using their tactics and they're going to try and get a vote against Jeremy. Our message is loud and clear. We back Jeremy. We back Jeremy. Young people, members of the ethnic minority, disabled people, able people, ordinary people, gay, lesbian, and every other section you can think of. Jeremy is the person that represents us, not these idiots that are causing this coup. Our message is clear to these PLP members who are calling this coup. We want Corbyn in, Tories out, along with these bitterites. Show these bullies we are here to stay, and Jeremy will be our leader. Jeremy will be the next Prime Minister.
When the Tories are at their lowest ebb, traitors within the Labour Party find a way that they can disrupt what we're doing. At a time when we should have been attacking the Tories, we're fighting our own in there, and I think it's an absolute disgrace. Not only are they trying to ruin the Corbyn leadership, what they're trying to do is heap as much shame on as they can. With this, what they did yesterday, on the hour, every hour, a resignation. If they had the courage of their convictions, they should have gone straight away. Indeed, if they couldn't work with Jeremy Corbyn, they should have left 9 months ago when Jeremy Corbyn got elected. Comrades, let us remind these treacherous MPs, they are not the Labour Party. In exactly the same way, General Secretaries aren't the union. We are all privileged spokespersons of the people who elected us, the people who put us there to do a job, and they are not doing the job they were put there to do.
They've used the referendum to blame everybody but the real culprits of poverty, inequality and failing welfare provisions. They blamed Muslims, migrants and the unemployed and whoever else in a desperate bid to make us forget that the responsibility lies with those in Westminster and those in the city who have done everything that they can to transfer the wealth away from the vast majority of us. In the chorus of so-called respectable racism, there are very few voices that oppose this narrative and that have the courage to say clearly and calmly that migrants are not to blame, that the UK is not full, and that what our welfare state needs is funding and support. Jeremy Corbyn has been one of those voices, and one of the most prominent ones. He has gone through this referendum explaining his position and with honesty and clarity,
always refusing to give in to the pressure and remaining in line with his principles. Now, that might be what one expects from a Labour leader, to stand up for ordinary people and oppose racist trends, but that's not what my generation has been used to. We've seen too many of the Labour leadership ready to implement Islamophobic policies in the context of the war on terror, justifying racist killings by the police or campaigning on the grounds of immigration control, and while compromising over the dismantling of our welfare state, our NHS and our education system. And that's why I'm here, because those trying to oust Jeremy today want to take the largest opposition party in the UK back to those days, and letting them get away with it in the midst of a spike of attacks against migrants and black communities up and down the UK, in the wake of one of the most racist campaigns we've witnessed in recent history, is allowing principled anti-racist and anti-austerity and anti-racism and anti-austerity to be ousted from the front benches of the opposition. So I extend my absolute solidarity to Corbyn in these difficult times, and to those who are fighting to change the Labour Party from within. And I also extend my call to all of you. In the months to come, we have serious tasks on our hands in each workplace, each community, each college, school and university, and I hope that we can unite and offer a serious alternative to the societal model and normalise racism our politicians try to force upon us. Tories out!
So many constituencies last year in the leadership election, constituencies nominated Jeremy Corbyn. In my constituency, he won on the first ballot at the meeting, and yet MPs all over the country deciding they know better than their members. They believe, maybe they believe in one person, one vote. They're the one person, they've got the one vote. I mean, who knows? I just hope that all these MPs can deliver all their own leaflets and knock on all their own doors. Because they just seem to have no idea who actually put them there. You know, who do they owe their positions to? It's us, it's the foot soldiers that get them into those positions. Now, they're saying they're moving against Jeremy Corbyn because he's unelectable, he can't win elections. Well, unlike some of you that bought T-shirts here and well done, I actually came to the meeting in my T-shirt, yeah? And on the way here, I was stopped by so many people saying, yeah, we support Jeremy, you know, complete strangers coming up to me. Into the supermarket to get a sandwich, because these meetings are hungry work, you know. And the guy in the supermarket wants to give me a high five because he agreed, you know, when he saw the T-shirt. So as long as we've got the T-shirts, we can start the revolution, okay? So it seems to me that Jeremy Corbyn is the most popular unelectable person I've ever seen in my life. And I just wish all these MPs that are moving against him were as popular as he is, but I doubt that very much. And the day of reckoning will come. We cannot let them get away with their behaviour. Thank you.
I'm absolutely honoured to stand here today as a newly appointed Women and Equality. I'm even more honoured to do that under the leadership of Jeremy Corbyn. What you guys are doing, which is a really serious moment in history, is you're proving that you are the many and they are the few, and that a democracy, real democracy, is you guys out there, not people in there dictating to you how it should be. You need to listen. I've had some bad news today about my son, who's 8, who wouldn't be here if it wasn't for our NHS. He was born at 23 weeks and I was told that he's likely to go blind when he gets older. But do you know what? I'm standing here in front of you today because you give me hope that there'll be an NHS to look after him in the future when he needs it. So my message to you is thank you. Thank you for restoring my faith in politics. That's why I came into politics, to serve you. I'm a public servant. You deserve better than this, and we're going to create a better future for the next generation. So thank you so much. Keep doing what you're doing.
Keep Corbyn, keep Corbyn, keep Corbyn, keep Corbyn.